The Hard Count is presented by BetMGM. As y'all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this college football season. We'll be using their lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for all of you each week. Now, when you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and more. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use bonus code HARDCOUNT, and you'll get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how that works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code HARDCOUNT. 2, deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. Step 3, you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code HARDCOUNT when you sign up. Let's make this college football season 1 for the books. Let's make it legendary. Let's get to the show. Welcome into the Hard Count presented by BetMGM, the show for college football fans that tip their delivery driver. Very important. It's the holiday season. Don't be stingy with that. We got a lot to talk about on today's show, man. We're doing a prediction Wednesday for you. So all the first round games, we're calling our shot. And then I want to have today serve as kind of like a playoff primer tomorrow on the show. We will have a full bracket prediction for you. So today you're getting the first round. Tomorrow we're giving you our national champion, our national title game, our semis, all that. So make sure you are subscribed because we are full speed ahead right now, baby. Told y'all yesterday. This is phase 3 of the college football season. Phase 1 is September, getting excited for the season. Hey, we're here. This is awesome. College football is back. Phase 2, you're all the way up into conference title weekend. We're figuring out where the seeding stands. Then phase 3 is like, okay, it's go time. Now it's college football playoff time. You're about it. We're about it. It is a beautiful day in Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet. Let's start with the BetMGM game of the week. A tradition like no other. Alabama going to Oklahoma. This line opened at BetMGM at Bama -2.5. It has since swung like a swing set back the other way, favoring the home team Sooners by 1.5. All right, so what does that mean? I don't know. I told y'all on Twitter, if you follow me there, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell, this game has me in a freaking blender. I've probably picked this game 3 or 4 times in the last 24 hours and given several different results, flip-flop many a time. It's going to be the kickoff game for us here for the playoff. Friday night, 8 Eastern, ABC, December 19th. Oklahoma, I've said it many times, the Komodo dragon of college football. What that means, it may not be the most aesthetic. If you've seen a Komodo dragon, hopefully not in person, using Google Images, it's not the most appealing-looking creature. Scaly, kind of ugly, like an alligator and a salamander had a baby. Not the most pretty to look at. However, if you get in the same room with that thing and it bites you, it's game, set, match, dude. Highly venomous, highly dangerous. Oklahoma, they might score 17 points and beat you. That's just how it's gone, dude. I wish I had something more for you. It might not be the best thing to look at if you're a fan of offensive football. Now, hopefully it evolves that way if you're an Oklahoma fan with John Mateer getting healthy. But that's just kind of who they've been this year. The Komodo dragon of college football, ugly a lot of the time, but they get it done. They're venomous, they're dangerous, and they're defending home turf here in a game that they won the last time in Tuscaloosa when these teams played not that long ago. Now, for Alabama, a familiar spot for you here. You are once again circling the wagons. You lose to Florida State in week 1. Is Kalen DeBoer the right guy? Is he the right personality for Alabama? And then you reel off a bunch of wins, and then you play Oklahoma, and you lose that game, and you're once again in fight or flight mode, and then you finish the season strong and find yourself playing for the SEC championship game. Now, the SEC title game was ugly. It was very, very ugly. But if I know one thing about this Kalen DeBoer Bama team, they get up off the mat. Need you one more time to get up off the mat, Bama. College football playoff game. Here we go. Speaking of getting up off the mat, Bama in that game against Georgia in the SEC title game, it was a laundry list of injuries. CVS receipt length when it came to dudes that were not available for Bama in that football game. A total of 10 starters down in that spot. Now, we're still, give or take, 9 days away from this game happening, so we'll keep a pulse on the injury report. How many of those individuals are able to go in this game? And if they are able to go, what percentage of them are you getting if they're playing for you? I'm looking at you, Josh Cuevas. Looking at that running back room for Bama. Are you able to have some other things to make this offense more balanced and more dangerous? Massive part of this. Now, on the flip side of that for Oklahoma, you beat Bama the last time you played them. You didn't even have your best defensive player available in R. Mason Thomas. Is he ready to roll? If R. Mason Thomas is ready to go in this game, look out, because that is going to probably add to the sack total that Oklahoma had the last time they played Alabama. Spoiler, it was 5. Without R. Mason Thomas, got 5 sacks. we'll see what happens here. So my question here is, do we get the same script in round 2 as we got in round 1? Because the script in round 1 was Alabama won everything but the turnover margin and the scoreboard. Outgained Oklahoma, had longer time of possession than Oklahoma. For good measure, they were less penalized than Oklahoma. They threw for more yards than Oklahoma. Like Ty Simpson had over 300 yards, but it didn't matter. Why? Because Oklahoma forced 3 turnovers. Had a punch out on special teams and a punt return against Ryan Williams. And then you had a couple of picks not go your way if you're or one pick rather go your way if you're Ty Simpson. And one of those was a pick 6. So it is what it is. But if you're Alabama, needless to say, you turn the football over again, you don't feel good about your chances to win the ball game. Now, if you're Alabama, though, I do think you look back at what happened in that game, and it was very obvious. Ty Simpson was in a bit of a blender. He was sped up. For whatever reason, Brent Venables has had Kalen DeBoer's number the last 2 years. Brent Venables, even a year ago, when they had a 6-7 season, they still beat Alabama with Jackson Arnold playing quarterback. So very obviously, he's had that offense's number. Are you able to throw a new pitch yet again at Ty Simpson? Because if I know one thing about Ty Simpson, he's getting back in the lab, son of a coach, gym rat, film junkie, all those things. He's going to get back in the lab and right all the wrongs that he had in this game, if they were out there with the same exact game plan. Like, I don't think you get Ty Simpson twice throwing the same stuff if you're Brent Venables. So are you able to recreate a new script to get him off his pivot? And then for Ty Simpson, are you able to anticipate what that new script is going to be? Now, I think if I'm Alabama, I would love to see them utilize some tempo in this spot. It's very difficult to be complex pre-snap as a defense when the offense is already lining up ready to snap it. Like, I'd love to see them go quick, get the ball out in a hurry, and just try to catch Oklahoma in some more simple-based stuff, because I think that would in some ways be advantage Alabama. There's explosive plays to be had here. I told you, 326 last game for Ty Simpson when they played. Ryan Williams, as much as he's been a little bit, I don't want to say invisible, it's a little bit harsh, but he hasn't been really a factor for Alabama. He can factor in this game. He can be a matchup for you. Jeremy Bernard, he could be a factor in this game. Lazio Brooks. Isaiah Horton, the personnel out wide for Bama is the advantage in this spot. But you only get to utilize them if Ty Simpson is processing it properly. Helping him process, to me, would look like 1, tempo, and then 2, finding a way to run the football. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say finding a way to get Jam Miller healthy for this one or finding a way to get Daniel Hill rolling in this one. I think you could use some quarterback run in this spot. My mind goes back to the Auburn game. Ty Simpson, is he like a 4.40 guy? Probably not, but he's got some wheels. Get him a blocker, get him out in space. He can make something happen for you. And it's not like I need Alabama to dominate on the ground in this spot. Like I said, they won the run game last time they played against Oklahoma. Do you have enough to offset the pressure from Oklahoma to set up ideal 2nd and 3rd downs and also keep that back end a little bit honest, chill out the pass rush, and away we go? Again, there's explosive plays to be had. Can Alabama find a way to access those by keeping Oklahoma honest on defense and not turning the freaking football over, man? Turn it over, then the rest of this breakdown doesn't really matter. Now, for Oklahoma, what kind of calories do we have on offense? Do we have calories at all? Because when I watch Oklahoma, I don't see a lot of what I would call like good calories. Good calories are like the rhythmic offense, a steady run game, the quick game, the things that you'd like to have when it comes to scoring points. I see a lot of dirty bulking. I see a lot of Snickers out there for the Oklahoma, a lot of candy bars out there for them. I see Sugar Rush. I see caffeine. I see 87 yards to Satania. I see 45 yards to Burks to beat LSU. I see just a lot of explosive plays where it's like, that's awesome. I don't know if you can depend on that going into every single game. Now, I say that, and they're in the college football playoff with 10 wins and 2 losses, and so what do I know? But when you're playing Alabama, I'd like to see some good calories. I'd like to see something rhythmic on offense. Is that quick passing game? Is that creative run game? I don't know. I think the matchup here to watch for Oklahoma on the offense side of the ball is twofold. One, the matchup on the perimeter when it comes to getting the ball to Satania and Burks in space for Oklahoma. If they can make something happen after the catch, you take a lot off John Mateer's plate. You probably feel a lot better about being able to come back the other way with some creative run game off of the quick game to Satania and Burks. If they can be sustainable calories for you on the perimeter, good things happen for Oklahoma. Second matchup I'm watching here, Ben Arbuckle, OC for Oklahoma, against D.C. Kane Womack for Alabama. I just need to catch him slipping once or twice if I'm Ben Arbuckle. That's it. Because we've seen, I keep going back to this, Oklahoma is not going to score in the 40s here. If they do, more power to you, Oklahoma. You got a college football playoff win in your back pocket. Congratulations. It's can we get one or two explosives? Can we scheme up one or two explosives, whether it's some misdirection, maybe we plant a seed here in the first quarter with a certain look we go back to later in the game. I just need to catch Kane Wommack's defense out of position once or twice for a big play. We're in business. So those two matchups, watching them very, very closely. But in this spot now, too, it's kind of a burn-the-boats approach here if you're Oklahoma on offense, is it not? Last time you played, John Mateer carried the football 10 times, one of them for a touchdown. He keeps on getting healthier. You'd like to think with 3 weeks of rest, give or take, this will probably be the most similar to September version of John Mateer that we've gotten this season post-thumb. You're running John Mateer here. It's pretty evident that the Oklahoma run game isn't going to be dominant anytime soon. That's okay, but it's got to be all hands on deck. Again, you got to have something to create rhythm, to create sustainability, and to set up 3rd and 6 or less, 3rd and 5 or less would be kind of the range I'd like to live, because then the whole playbook is open. But if you're not cutting it loose here for John Mateer, when it comes to the running game, that is, and utilizing his legs, one, you're doing yourself a disservice, because I don't love the idea of not maximizing all our playmakers in a college football playoff game. And two, I think you're putting yourself at a disadvantage schematically. The thing that I love about John Mateer running the football, and people say this all the time when you watch a colored commentary on a broadcast, the +1 run game. All that means you get an extra blocker when your quarterback runs the football. And for how Oklahoma has not run the ball this year, I like extra blockers, and I like a guy who has been able to run the football at a somewhat decent level this year when he's healthy, toting the rock for us. So the first 20 minutes of this game might just tell the story. If it's about points, I don't like Oklahoma chasing points. I'd say they haven't done it this year, but there's a lot more that you have to forecast that's hard to forecast right now in the context of this game for them to win. If Ty Simpson gets to play with a lead, okay, here we go. More importantly, John Mateer doesn't get to play with the lead, has to chase points. That's not really who Oklahoma wants to be. They start pressing. If they press, they have turnovers. Bama wins. Full stop. Now, if it's about the margins, I don't like Alabama in this spot, because Alabama, special teams-wise, hasn't been great this year. Meanwhile, Oklahoma has arguably the best kicker in college football, in Tate Sandell. So if it comes down to margins and finding a way to create turnovers and all those things, then I like Oklahoma in this spot. The tricky thing for me in picking this game, I've seen both these teams do what I would ask them to do to win. If it's about gritty and gross and what I just said, then Oklahoma has majored in that all year long. If it's about responding to adversity and pulling the nose up, Alabama has done that multiple times this year, to the tune of playing for the SEC championship after losing the first week of the college football season. We all left them for dead after lost to Florida State. In this spot, I feel like I have to go a little bit more on logic than gut. My gut says I think John Mateer in Oklahoma is going to once again find a way to grit this one out at home, wind at their back. And I've been wrong on Oklahoma multiple times this year, so take this with a grain of salt. That's what my gut says. Logic is telling me Alabama won the football game last time they played. They just turned the football over too many times. So are you forecasting that Oklahoma is going to get 3 turnovers again and Ty Simpson once again is in a blender? That, to me, would be a touch surprising. Also, are you going to go ahead and assume that Kalen DeBoer goes 0 for 3 against the same head coach? That would also surprise me. So gut says one thing, logic says another. On this show, I will uncomfortably pick Alabama to get their lick back, to win, to cover. Final score in Norman, Alabama wins 24-20, and they advance in the college football playoff after looking abysmal, embarrassing against Georgia, and they advance in the college football playoff to play the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll break that one down when it gets here. Don't feel great about it, but we stand on business. That's our pick, and we will respond accordingly. All right, now, this might be, I know the BetMGM game of the week for us on this show is Oklahoma-Alabama. If there was a BetMGM game of the week junior, 2.0, maybe junior's kind of condescending, Miami at Texas A&M. Texas A&M favored by 3.5 at the crib. This is your Saturday game, so we'll have Oklahoma-Bama Friday night, right into Saturday morning, give or take for us here in the Central Time Zone. Noon Eastern, ABC, December 20th. For A&M, how much has been said about battered Aggie syndrome? You're probably nauseated hearing that on this show, or what A&M football hasn't been. And we keep saying, no, it's a new era. It's a new time. Mike Elko's here. It's all good. You can say that, but if you want to have it really be believed, you go win a college football playoff game at the crib. That would be something tangible you can point to, hold on to, and say, this is who A&M football is now. The regular season was fun, but I promise you, if they lose this game in a somewhat convincing fashion, they lose the game at all, people will say, there it is, battered Aggie syndrome. Told you. Silence all that, get a college football playoff win, and show the mark of the new chapter here in College Station with Mike Elko getting a playoff win his second year on the job. Now, for Miami, they're really interesting to me when it comes to the psychology test for them. They've been in playoff mode really since the SMU loss. I think I like that. We saw Notre Dame be in that same spot after week 2 last year, and it served them well in the college football playoff, playing for a national title last year. I think there's that part of it, plus this thought for me that I think Miami kind of has a point to prove more than anyone else in the college football playoff, because there's been so much in the wake of them getting in that's been from other fan bases and just other people casually saying, well, Miami, they shouldn't have been in X, Y, and Z reason why. Miami, you want to shut them up? Go win a college football playoff game on the road against a team in Texas A&M that, as of a couple of weeks ago, we all thought was going to get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff. Neither here nor there. Before I do this breakdown, what version of each quarterback we get might make everything else I'm about to say not matter. If you get Carson Beck from the Louisville game out here, he throws 4 picks. Doesn't matter what I say about Miami's line of scrimmage and the weapons that Miami has at their disposal and Malachi Toney. If Carson Beck looks abysmal, they're going to lose the football game. That's how college football works. But we've seen that happen now at least one time, 1.5 if you want to count the SMU game, that's gotten Miami into a little bit of a tough spot. Now, the same thing can be said for A&M. If Marcel Reed's out there not setting his feet and throwing off platform a lot, and the ball sailing on him, especially sailing over the middle, which he's been prone to do, and he has some turnovers, and the whole breakdown I'm about to tell you about how A&M's got these weapons and Concepcion and Craver in the run game, then that's not going to matter either. So the quarterback play being stable to reaching their ceiling, that's going to determine the whole game to begin with. But when it comes to actual breakdowns, Texas A&M and their offense, the tug of war in the trenches to me is going to be huge. A&M has been so elite this year on the offensive side of the ball because they've been able to get something going on the ground more often than not. It's kind of like breaking the ice in a conversation. Whenever you get that first joke to land, everything else is on the table, right? When you got them laughing, okay, now you can talk about something serious, can ask for your loan, whatever you want to do. For A&M, if you get something going on in the run game, everything else is open to you. You got the play-action game. You get Marcel Reed getting in there, too, a little bit in the quarterback design run game. You can do some of the screen game for it. Everything is at your disposal if you can establish something on the ground. A&M, over the course of this season, has got 4 different ball carriers that average 5 yards a carry or more. Now, they have actually 5 ball carriers at that clip if Le'Veon Moss is counted into that equation. Now, as of us recording this, there's nothing concrete on Le'Veon Moss and his availability, but if he's able to go, hang on tight now, because that dude, I think, may be the best player on their football team. Just leave that out there. The thing that you want to win if you're A&M here when it comes to the gameplay, if you're able to win on the ground, like I just said, establish the run, you win the game with those safeties, with getting them to trigger quickly. Miami has been phenomenal this year when it comes to stopping the run. A big part of that, they are aggressive at the second and third level. Now, when you do that, what do you leave behind you? A whole bunch of green grass. You get got real quickly if you trigger too quickly against Texas A&M in that run game because you got Concepcion downfield, Craver downfield, Bethel Roman downfield, and Marcel Reed. There's a reason why A&M is one of the top teams in America when it comes to yards per pass. So if you can get those safeties a little bit rocking and roll, a little bit aggressive, advantage A&M. Again, you do that by getting something going on the ground. I think also, too, with just what A&M is up against in Miami's front seven, I think you probably put it on the perimeter a fair amount. I don't love the idea of running right at Ruben Bain. It's just my take with the top 20 rush defense. So that's going to be huge here. If Marcel Reed is able to have the run at his back and he's able to get Miami off balance and they're guessing at what you're doing because you're probably living at that point in time, second and manageable, third and short, that to me would give a game script where Marcel Reed is able to set his feet. He sets his feet. They're in flow state. Nobody's beating A&M short of Indiana and Ohio State. Now, do they win this game is going to come down to that conversation in general. So for Miami, if you want to avoid all that happening that I just painted out for you, win on first down. Miami's one of the best teams in college football when it comes to stopping the run and also rushing the passer. the more that you win on first and second down, you then grow the impact your front seven can have on this game. Like 3rd and 7, it's Ruben Bain time. All right? Like that's the whole key for you. That's the whole goal here for you if you're Miami on the defensive side of the ball. Now on the offensive side of the ball for the Canes, man, I'm testing that Texas blueprint that was laid out against A&M on Thanksgiving weekend. There was body blow after body blow from Texas, and it was downhill. It was attacking the edges of the A&M defense. It was 6 yards a carry, y'all. That's what Texas, 6 yards a carry against that A&M defense. A&M's got a good front seven, but I have to think now, if I'm Mario Cristobal, former offensive lineman, you don't think he's going to throw the gauntlet down in front of Francis Mauigoa and say, here's what we got to do. Here's the deal. Look at this, Francis. Look at what they're doing, pushing them off the ball. That's, I think, the exact kind of game plan that Miami would like to start with. But I also think that if you're able to, similar to Texas A&M, we just said with their game flow, if you're able to get that going, the skill for Miami at that point gets to get ramped up a little bit off of play action in the screen game. If the screen game's going for Miami, that's how you know they're cooking. Miami is a top 20 team in college football when it comes to accessing the screen kind of personnel and screen kind of plays. When that happens, Malachi Toney gets his touches, C.J. Daniels gets his touches, and more than likely you have some elephants on parade on the offensive line that are up against DBs. Good things are happening. So Miami, they have 3 receivers, there are 3 top receivers rather, that are all averaging over 11 yards a catch. Obviously, it goes Malachi Toney. Like that is the one player within this football game, if you're Miami, that you have to get activated. Because he's kind of that player, too, in this discussion that could be sort of the palms up player of the game. Like, hey, A&M scored 30, but Malachi Toney got his 18 touches, and Miami scored 40. Ball up top. Like, he's that good, the true freshman is. Got to keep tabs on him. And if you're Miami, you got to get him involved here quick, fast, in a hurry if you want to have yourself the best chance to win this football game. I don't feel that nervous, quite frankly, about the A&M ability to rush the passer just because Miami's been so great up front this year. They have a top 5 sack rate allowed in college football. So if you're Carson Beck, I think there has to be something said here in this discussion. If it's not about pressure, it's going to be about deception. Because I promise you, Mike Elko will have something cooked up for Carson Beck. It'll be some eye candy. It'll be some tempting windows that look open, but they're really not. Carson Beck being able to process this all in real time is going to be crucial for the flow of this game. Because the thing with Carson Beck too, unfortunately, when it rains, it pours with him. When there's one pick, sometimes he starts pressing and there's more interceptions to follow. Louisville game, case in point with the 4 picks. SMU game, case in point with the 2 picks. Has to be something where he's able to see it all in real time, take what the defense gives him. Carson, a throwaway and a check down might be winning football in this spot, brother. Legitimately, it might. Because I don't think that A&M's run defense should be all that concerning for you if you're able to get what you want. So the spot that both these teams have coming into it has to be talked about. Texas A&M and their loss to Texas to finish the regular season. Is that a wound or is that a reset? We saw Ohio State last year lose to Michigan. Everyone's talking about Ryan Day not being the right guy for the job and all this, that, and the other. And then then Ohio State went on a freaking roll, beat Texas on their way to a national championship. But if it's a wound for A&M where it's like, hey, maybe some things got exposed, maybe it bruised our confidence a little bit. Now we got to go back and host a playoff game. We thought we were getting a bye. All those things. Is it a wound or a reset in the loss for Texas for A&M? Now for Miami, the fact that you've been in playoff mode I think is helpful. The momentum you have has to be talked about in a positive light. But at the same time, when was the last time Miami was really lifting heavy weight when it came to an opponent? Pitt, I guess you could say. Like, I don't really see anybody on Miami's schedule since SMU that gets me that fired up about talking about how they're going to be out there playing their best football and they've seen this kind of competition because they haven't. So for Miami, is that momentum serving you well to the sense where we've been lifting lightweight, now we're poised to go lift some heavyweight, or is it we've been lifting lightweight, we're not used to the heavyweight? Instead of a warm up, it's a shock when you go play a team in A&M that's a top 10 team in college football and can, quite frankly, beat you if you don't bring your best stuff to the table. So I mentioned the quarterback questions I had at the top of this breakdown, the top of this preview. The questions I have in relation to Marcel Reed and Carson Beck to pick a winner here are twofold. One, which quarterback can win in more ways? And then 2, which quarterback can I ask less of to win this football game? To me, the answer to both of those questions is Marcel Reed. If Marcel Reed is just having a tough day at the office throwing the football, He can do something on the ground. He can get going when he breaks contain. If Miami's got it dialed up on the back end, great. He can make something happen with his legs. And what I say is he has a very malleable skill set to whatever kind of game is thrown at him. And we've seen that from A&M this year too. You go score 40-plus to beat Notre Dame, turn around, score less than 20 to beat Auburn. Marshall Reed, the way that he's comfortable in both the situations, I think that plays to A&M's advantage. Second part of that, I told you who can I ask less of. If Carson Beck's not having a great day at the office, that's kind of tough because then we don't get to involve Malachi Toney as much. Then the run game becomes probably less effective because I'm not so much worried about the deep passing game. I don't have anything with Carson Beck when it comes to him running the football. Like there's the path becomes a lot smaller for Miami to win the football game. Now for A&M though, if Marcel Reed's off, we can throw the bubbles to Concepcion and Craver. We can do the jet sweep stuff to them. I told you we got a bunch of backs that can carry the football. If Le'Veon Moss is available, here we go. Would not be shocked in the slightest if Miami rolls in there with something to prove, with an edge, and they're more physical than A&M and catch A&M lacking a little bit here. That would not shock me. However, the logic behind this is I'm taking the team with more ways to win, the team that I've seen slip up less, and the team that's at home. I think it's close, but I'll take Texas A&M to win. I will take them to cover by a half point, with that staying at 3.5 right now, with the final score being 31-27 at Kyle Field. So A&M wins, A&M covers, and they advance in the college football playoff. All right, so we got some more previews for you a little bit later in this thing. We'll pick the other two first-round games with Tulane and Ole Miss and Oregon and JMU, but I want to address these top four seeds that all have a bye in the college football playoff. Because I told you, playoff primer today, picking the full bracket tomorrow. But these teams that all have a bye in the college football playoff, I think it'd be appropriate for us to have this discussion. What would it take for them to win a national championship? So-and-so wins a national title if, we'll address that for each of these top four seeds. We'll go 1 through 4 here. We'll start with Indiana. I think Indiana wins a national championship if they haven't peaked yet. Because I think with Indiana, they've proven they're the best team in college football. Say what you want about Ohio State and how talented they are. They just beat Ohio State. Indiana has beat the brakes off of everybody. They harassed Oregon. Oregon and Dante Moore. Dante Moore, we'll talk more about him here in just a little bit. He's been phenomenal this year. They had him in a blender. They had Julian Sayin, not in a blender, but they had him off his pivot, sacked him multiple times. Indiana has also proven now they have multiple ways to win football games. They are top 15 in yards per pass as an offense. They're top 15 when it comes to yards per carry run of the football. They're holding teams to less than 12 points a game, which is just disgusting. They have a Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback in Fernando Mendoza who's delivering elite sound bites after the game and delicious dimes during it. Like, they got everything within a football team that you could ask for. Like, if the season ended today, Indiana would be your national champion. On paper, Indiana should win every game they're going to play. However, games aren't played on paper. Games are played on grass. Games are played with human beings that are actually between 18 and 22-year-olds that give you a ton of variance. So I go back to last year, Oregon was in the exact same position. Oregon, on paper, Big Ten champion, beat Ohio State early on in the year. It's about it translating and evolving to the college football playoff. Essentially, now the season resets, and I love what Kurt Cignetti said on that stage in Lucas Oil Stadium. He just won the Big Ten championship. Joel Klatt's talking to him about how they just won the whole deal, and now he goes, it only counts if you finish number one in the rankings. That's all that matters. I got 3.5 weeks to get this team humble and hungry. Like, Kurt Cignetti knows what the deal is. And so, while on paper Indiana, is your national champion, what I'm curious about with them when it comes to them not peaking is, can they keep evolving? Can they keep finding other ways to adapt their game plan offensively? Can they get even better defensively and find other things to throw at offenses? Because right now it's about competitive stamina. And look at their path here. You're going to get someone frisky, whether it's Oklahoma or Bama, in your first college football playoff game, Indiana. You're going to get a frisky house money kind of team, whether it's John Mateer and the boys rolling in after beating Bama twice on top of the world, or a revitalized, rejuvenated Alabama that, when they got some belief, man, they're a dangerous, dangerous team. And then from there, like, you probably have either a Texas Tech or an Oregon. Not probably, there's only two teams. Well, no disrespect to JMU. We'll talk about that later. But whether it's Texas Tech or Oregon, Texas Tech's got a point to prove. They're the little engine that could in the Big 12 with the front seven that's legit. You got an Oregon team that's going to be in a rematch spot for you. In a rematch now, you got to reinvent the wheel. And then whoever you play in the national title will have earned it. If it's Ohio State, you're going to have a rematch spot there too as well. Like, there's so much here with Indiana where I don't have questions about the raw ingredients. I have questions about, okay, can you evolve, adapt, and have the competitive stamina to continue to ascend? I love who they are, but who they are right now, I don't think is going to be enough to win a national championship, because everyone else, I think, around them is still evolving and getting better as well. Now, here's what I do love about Indiana. I love the fact that we've seen them in some deep water before. Like, if you want to count the Iowa game as a quote-unquote deep water or clutch moment, Indiana's 4-0 in the clutch moments. From Iowa, Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. Like, they've been in some close games here. So you're not wondering who they're going to be when the chips are stacked. And you also aren't wondering what your quarterback's going to do when the chips are stacked. Fernando Mendoza has been elite in those spots. Again, like I told you, I think he's probably winning the Heisman Trophy for the folks that have a vote. Now, will he win the hard count Heisman? Stay tuned for that whole deal. But at the end of the day, if Indiana keeps ascending and evolving, they will win the national championship. Remains to be seen if that's the case, but that's where we're at on the Hoosiers as it stands right now. Cato, we talked about this a little bit before the show. Where are you at on the Hoosiers, and any take as to what it will require of them to ultimately be that team, having the confetti drop on them in Miami, Florida?
Yeah, JD, I don't know if this sounds crazy or not, but is it crazy to say they win the Natty if they don't have to play Ohio State again?
No, it's not.
Because I feel like we've gotten to the point now where Indiana might just be who we thought Ohio State was. Yeah. And the logos are still distracting us. We're still kind of, as a college football culture, like stuck on the talent on these rosters and the amount of recruits and all of that stuff. Like, Curt Cignetti told us to Google him that he wins, and the prophecy seems to come true. And I think just the Indiana of it all, I feel like for me and a lot of people, I can't tell if it'd be more surprising if they lost in the first round or if they won the national championship. I don't think they're fraudulent by any means. I think the logo is just harder to accept. But I think after beating who we thought the best team in the country was the entire year, they have the belt now. And I'm looking at who's going to try to take them down. So it'd be interesting to see, like, as more and more people do their brackets where they have Indiana, because every metric, everything other than that IU logo should tell you that this would be the favorite to win the national championship. And you know it's hard to beat a tweet team twice. So on that kind of logic, maybe if they can just avoid Ohio State in a rematch and Ohio State gets bumped off by a Georgia or someone else on the other side of the bracket, maybe that's all Indiana needs to go win a Natty. But my favorite part about what you said definitely was the competitive composure we've seen from them. And I think that could have been the difference, arguably, in them being able to beat Ohio State. They did a lot of things really good. They rushed the passer really good. But at the end of the day, when it's the fourth quarter and it's tied or it's down, Indiana has been in several moments this year like that, regardless of who the opponent is. They've been in moments like that, and Fernando Mendoza and the boys make the plays they have to make to win the game. And not every team in the country has been there. Ohio State hadn't been there until they were in the Big Ten championship. We'll see if they get more reps under their belt in those situations moving through the playoff. But as far as battle-testedness, if we're just going purely off of that, and which teams I think all year and more recently are the best at winning football games, Indiana and a team we'll talk about a little bit here soon in the SEC that has a first-round bye, to me, I think, are the two squads that you, from just a competitive composure standpoint and the talent they have and what they've done this year, you got to feel good about them.
For Indiana this year, I think some people, too, could be distracted by, like you said, the logo and also what last year was. Like, people saw them go to Columbus and get beat bad and lose in South Bend. This is not that, to your point. I think you're 100% on the money. If they had the LSU logo, if they had my preseason national champion pick as their logo, would they not be the betting favorite in Vegas? I know we talked yesterday, like, they were the second best odds to win the national title.
Yeah,
they had
still trailing Ohio State even though they beat them,
Probably would have been the favorite in that discussion. Like, I think that's a great take, Cato. I don't disagree by any stretch of the imagination, man.
Yeah, and I feel like it's almost the opposite of the way we were talking about Miami and A&M in the previous segment with that matchup coming up here. Those teams, if you want to bet on either of these teams or pick either of those teams, you're relying on the best and the worst of what you've seen from them, and that the best will prevail. What's Indiana's worst this year? They've had a couple of bad quarters here and there. Yeah, maybe, but when the money was on the line, like they did their thing. I know Fernando Mendoza, the Iowa game comes to mind because they took a safety at the end of the game. That's why the score was like that. So he apologized after the game if anyone had the spread, but he was like, over here we we're about the Indiana money line over here. Like if you wanna win, I can't tell you by how much we're gonna win by, but if you want to win, that's what we're gonna do. So that confidence he has, that confidence Netty has, man, it's hard to bet against. I think hard to bet against in general, but I think the logo is what gives people second thoughts. So curious to see what the public and our viewers in the comments, how they just feel about Indiana at large, because I've heard everything from they're going to win the Natty, like obviously they just beat Ohio State, they're going to keep doing it, to as soon as they see an SEC team, maybe they get a reality check. But I lean more towards the Natty side of things. But man, we'll talk about all these other teams and what they need. I think you could maybe argue they need the least.
Yeah.
Like they need the very least, and that's why they're the 1 seed, and it obviously makes sense. But I don't have to squint to see Indiana needing a lot or doing something crazy that they haven't done this season to win a national championship. So excited for Signetti and the boys for sure.
College football in 2025, Indiana, competing for a national title, man.
Who would have thought?
What a time. What a time, dude. What a time to be alive. Now, in a less surprising fashion when it comes to logos, Ohio State, the number 2 seed in the college football playoff, they have a bye, licking their wounds a little bit after the loss to Indiana. We on this show supported the committee's decision to say, you know what, a 3-point loss to the number 2 team in college football, now the number 1 team in college football, we're not going to dock you too much. So we appreciate that move. However, I don't think Ohio State's interested in hearing where they're seeded or not seeded. They want to win the whole darn thing. Ohio State wins a national championship if what we've seen the last 2 weeks on the line of scrimmage are more about acclimating than what they have personnel-wise. What I mean by that is we saw Ohio State now against Michigan and Indiana give up over 100 yards rushing. Sky's not falling, not telling you Ohio State's fraudulent up front, not saying any of that, but I am saying now, you look at that, you say, it's a little bit unsettling. Doesn't make me feel great about Ohio State here the rest of the way, because as good as Indiana is, like, you're going to play some teams here, Ohio State, that can run the football against you. But those last 2 games, I think if we're going to be honest about this, those were the first 2 games Ohio State had played since, Illinois, that had something to make you honor at a talent level. Were those moments for Ohio State reality relative to their personnel, or was it more of a, hey, we just haven't seen this in a minute, we got to get ramped up for it? And quite frankly, too, like Ohio State only allowed 13 points against Indiana. It wasn't like they fell off the wagon. They allowed 9 points against Michigan. It wasn't like it was a bad day at the office. But that does, again, just what I said, causes a little bit of an eyebrow raise to say, okay, don't love that. Don't love that. Because you also look at the other side of their line of scrimmage when it comes to protecting Julian Sayin. Indiana sacked Julian Sayin 5 times. It's not winning football. Now, some of that, too, you say, hey, Jules, get rid of the football here, brother. Let's find a way to dirt that thing a little bit quicker and survive in advance. But the reason why this is so important to me relative to them winning a national championship, what was one of the biggest things that propelled Ohio State to a national title last year? You can say the line of scrimmage on the defensive side. Of course, it's part of this. But I think, too, it was about maximizing your best players. Jeremiah Smith was unconscious in the college football playoff for the better part of that run, and that made the difference. So for Ohio State, you want to maximize your best players. You got to be tier 1 when it comes to how you protect your quarterback and also how you, play defense as well. Like I say, maximize your best players. That's Jeremiah Smith on offense. It's also your best players on defense. If Arvell Reese is living in 3rd and 3, he doesn't get to do what he does best and rush the passer. We don't get to be as creative with Caleb Downs and how we try to confuse the quarterback and give him a tricky picture. All those things are not invisible, but they're dialed back quite a bit, again, if we're not winning at the point of attack on the offensive and defensive side. So here's my hope if I'm an Ohio State fan. Again, it was not bad. We're being nitpicky here. You lost by 3 points to the now number 1 team in college football. We are understandably here splitting hairs. But my hope and my guess, quite frankly, is that Ohio State's nervous system just hadn't felt the heavy bar in a minute here. And I had a coach, and I'll never forget, was squatting during the offseason, and I was dealing with a weight that was quite a little bit heavier for me. Like I was still trying to figure out how to rep this weight, and I was trying to rep it. And he was telling me, he goes, hey, it doesn't matter if the rep is bad. It doesn't matter if you're getting like the best depth in the world. Just feel this weight on your back, feel what it's like to rep it, and then in the future now, you'll be able to do better form. You'll be stronger. You'll be more familiar with this weight. I think for Ohio State, that's the same thing here. It's not a great rep to lose to Indiana in the Big Ten title game. It's a bad rep, but you're better now for having felt that weight on your back, and I think you'll be in a better position for it here. It has never and will never be about talent for Ohio State. It's all about momentum. It's all about having them acclimated to the personnel they're going to play. As much as that float phase helped them with Julian Sain and playing up Purdue and beating the brakes off of UCLA, I think it helps your offense. But also, quite frankly, while it saves your legs, it also doesn't ramp up the nervous system the same way when you play those more physical units in Michigan and in Indiana. So Ohio State, I'm not worried about them, but I do want to see that line of scrimmage play for them translate to them maximizing their best players on the offensive and defensive side. So Ohio State, they win a national championship if they're acclimating up front and it's not truly a matter of the Jimmies and the Joes. Kato, what are your thoughts on this here? Before we do, though, want to make sure that people know Roback bringing the hard count today. And for Ohio State fans, listen very closely here. This is important. Roback's rolling out a game day collection. And if I was an Ohio State fan, I would 1,000% buy that red Script Ohio hoodie. In fact, if we went to Columbus for something, I'd probably just join the fun and buy that Script Ohio hoodie because it's so sick. Roback is the best in the game when it comes to the comfortable activewear. I just told you the hoodies are elite. You got Ohio State flavored gear over there. It's phenomenal. You got the polos. You got the sweats now as things are getting a little bit more crispy for us over here in Nashville, Tennessee, and all those alike that aren't in South Florida and California where you don't have to bundle up. But even if you don't want to bundle up, again, Roback's got you covered with the shorts, with the T-shirts, everything you need to lock in for the rest of college football season. So hear this. If you hear nothing else, hear this. We'll save you some money, whether you want to buy the Script Ohio hoodie or you want to buy some other gear, whether it's the game day collection or not. Use code JD on Roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's spelled RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, that hoodie, and more with code JD. No periods, those two letters, code JD at Roback.com. Kato, you got to take here on Ohio State when it comes to what it's going to require of them to win a national title. I think it's a line of scrimmage thing. I think it's an acclimation thing. Where are you at on Ohio State? Should they go back-to-back and win a national title?
Yeah, for these, it's weird. Like with Indiana, Ohio State so far, like I'm just thinking of like the most like simplest terms of it. Like Ohio State wins the Natty if they lock in, right?
Yeah.
Like if they lock in like they
Legit.
locked in last year, I think everyone kind of agrees they're the most talented team in the country. And if you had to probably be a coach of any of these teams and your objective was to win the Natty, like Ohio State's not a bad place to be. Love what you said about the line of scrimmage because I think the more intense version of that is the short yardage. A little concerning for me. Bo Jackson's a good back. He's obviously extremely elusive. But like last year, them having Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard on those third and shorts as an option with the quarterback run and a back that can just get to that line of scrimmage and churn his legs and fall forward. I'm worried about that if they get in a tight spot with a Miami or an A&M or a Georgia and they need some of those short yardage plays, kind of like they did against Indiana, and you have Julian Sain falling, like not the best for a QB sneak. I don't think Julian Sain's like the quarterback you'd build for a QB sneak, you know? It's a great player and it's his first year starting, but yeah, man, the short yardage in like some certain spots worries me, but at large, man, like if this team just locks in, I think they can win the national championship. That's why they're the favorite to still win the national championship besides them other just even though they lost that game against Indiana. So yeah, man, I think for them it's mostly neck up, right? Like
Feels that way.
If their coaches put their players in a position to succeed and they have the same kind of attitude they did last year going through the playoffs, no one wants to see Ohio State. They're going to win the national championship again. So, yeah, I think for them, can talk about the X's and O's and any problems that were presented in the Indiana game, but at the end of the day, like if they're going to be nasty on the line of scrimmage, like you said, on both sides of the ball, and from the neck up, they carry themselves like defending national champs with confidence and get the job done, man. Like they just need to. Their national championship hopes are about who they see in the mirror, I feel like, more so than who lines up cross for them. But pretty interesting draw they have, so I don't think it's going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination, but probably easier for Ohio State than a lot of these other teams given what they've got on their roster.
And if it's about locking in, wouldn't you want Ryan Day as your head coach that had the lock-in of all lock-ins for what last year was? And Caleb Downs in that locker room to help you lock in. Jeremiah, like there's a lot of guys, we talk about the new pieces for Ohio State. There's a lot of guys that were on this team last year that were a part of the great lock-in that was the Ohio State national title run post-Michigan. So I'm with you, Cato. If they lock in, I don't think anybody's begging to play Ohio State at any point in their college football playoff, but so it goes. So it goes. So Georgia, they may end up playing Ohio State to punch their ticket to the national championship. But Georgia, what would it take for them to end up being that team that hoists the hardware and has the confetti dropping on them for the third time in Kirby Smart's career as the head coach at Georgia? Georgia, they win a national title if they get Gunnar Stockton's best 3 games of the season. Georgia's path, a little bit brutal when it comes to what they have to do to win a national championship. Everyone's path is different. Everyone's path has different demands. Same thing in life. Same thing true for the college football playoff. Georgia's path, it demands points. For the sake of this conversation, let's just say that chalk holds for the first 2 draws of the college football playoff for Georgia. You got to play Ole Miss. Okay, should they beat Tulane? Ole Miss scored 35 on you. Took 43 to beat them last time you played. Okay, need points. Ohio State, they're averaging 32 points a game. I think we all understand with Jeremiah Smith and Julian Sayin and those weapons, they're liable to give you 40 if you're not ready to roll from the jump. And then in the next game you'd play, it's like, is it Indiana? Is it Oregon? Is it Texas Tech? Oregon is the lowest producing team when it comes to points they would have to play. They're scoring 36. Okay, Indiana and Texas Tech are both scoring right around 40. So if we want to go ahead and play for a national championship, win a national championship, Georgia, probably going to have to score in the 35-plus range to end up getting there. And quite frankly, for Georgia, the thing that's encouraging about them right now, I think across the board, they have elevated every part of their team to the point now where there shouldn't be a glaring mismatch in any game they play at any specific spot. Like we talked about the secondary. It was a concern for us different points throughout the year. You still side-eye it. I don't think it's a thing that will get you beat here in the college football playoff. Talking about the line of scrimmage, I feel great about us running the football. I feel great about us stopping the run from what I've seen the last couple of weeks. It comes down to those things, at least at best, or I should say this, at best they're advantages. At worst, it's a wash for you across the board. And it comes down to Gunnar Stockton being able to deal the pill like a shady pharmacist and elevate your team to go win football games. Like we said that from the first year of the 12-team playoff. When you got to win 3 or 4 games, it comes down to, more often than not, can your quarterback outduel the other quarterback and find a way to get you there? So the thing that makes me feel good from Georgia is, like, we've seen Gunnar Stockton win his fair share of quarterback duels. Like, Gunnar Stockton has outdueled now over the course of this college football season the number 1, 2, 4, and 5 passers in the SEC. JD, he didn't outduel the third best quarterback in the SEC when it comes to passing yards. That would be Diego Pavia, and they didn't play Vandy. So everyone that Georgia has had to play of note here, Gunnar Stockton has outperformed and outdueled those quarterbacks relative to Georgia winning the football game. So you have experience. You have a lot of myelin, if you will, built up to Gunnar Stockton, his ability to go get it done for you here in a college football playoff setting. Now, the thing that I also like about Gunnar Stockton, he can do it in multiple ways for you. Like, if Gunnar Stockton doesn't throw for 3 bills any given game, doesn't mean you're in trouble. 1, you probably ran the football well, but 2, Gunnar Stockton might have been a part of you running the football well. Like, sacks count for quarterback rushing yards in college football. For those of y'all that aren't familiar, Gunnar Stockton might have like the quietest 400 yards of anyone this season. 8 rushing touchdowns. Like, he's a weapon for you on the ground. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder, much to the chagrin of a Kirby Smart and Mike Bobo, and go get some extra yards for you. So the way that Gunnar Stockton can do it for you in multiple ways and hasn't had an off game really of sorts. I know you point to the Georgia Tech game, still found a way to win. There hasn't been like the Gunnar Stockton disaster game this year. You got to feel pretty good if you're Georgia when it comes to what it would require for you to win a national championship. So Georgia, you win a national championship if, in my opinion, Gunnar Stockton gives you his best 3 games. I'm not worried about anything else with Georgia. I'm not worried about Gunnar Stockton, but he is going to be that change agent to get you to the mountaintop this year and get Kirby his 3rd national title out there in Athens. Kato, any take on Georgia here when it comes to what it requires of them to win a national title here? We've already done the first 2 together. I kind of just want to get your take here for them and Texas Tech, and we're just going to be honest on it. Anything when it comes to Georgia and what it could require for them to ultimately hoist that hardware here?
Yeah, I agree with the Gunnar Stockton take. I feel like a lot is on his shoulders. I think we talked previously about how this is like Kirby's best coaching job and how his players have kind of taken his identity, and you see it in their play, especially in that SC title game, flying around on defense, all of that. To me, if they can stay, is not to like steal from the Ohio State one, stay locked in.
It's true.
But if they're, I think the further they put the team that played in the beginning of the year and was having to come from behind in the past, the better they can get. So that if they just continue to be this team in November that more often than not is delivering, you feel good about them kind of from that Mississippi State game forward. Was definitely scared against Georgia Tech for sure, and that's the lowest end possible what you could see from Gunnar Stockton. But they still found a way to win that game. So that's why I think Gunnar Stockton is the correct answer here, because even on his worst days, the traits of this Kirby Smart football team were able to run the ball and play just enough defense to come out of that game with a win. You're going to see better opponents in the playoff, but I still think, could you get a pedestrian performance from Gunnar Stockton and still find a way to win the game? Absolutely. It's Kirby Smart. This is onside kick against Texas. This is block punt in the SEC championship game, and a guy who watched Marcus Freeman last year beat him at his own game, and that's why they lost. So I think that Gunnar Stockton now, you're the one that, where if you're humming, if you got the offense rolling and everything else around him is working like we expect it to, that's when this team gets a lot more dangerous, doesn't have to fly close to the sun, and can play dominant through this tournament if Gunnar Stockton plays dominant. This isn't the Stetson Bennett days where I mean, just throw it to Brock Bowers and we'll be fine.
Washington's out there somewhere.
There's a little bit more on his plate, and with that comes the responsibility of, all right, like, this team will go as far as the guy who touches the ball every play, and he's answered the call more often than not. I think this team will play their best ball November to December, hopefully January for them. But dogs, again, logo you don't want to see. I think they win the Natty if Gunnar Stockton. That's the stat line, honestly. If you gave me every quarterback's stats through this entire CFP, and you can tell me, all right, this how so-and-so's going to play, this how so-and-so's going to play. If his look the best, it's like, all right. There's universes, where Trinidad Chambliss plays awesome in some of these games, and they don't have the defense to support him. They can't fully put it together. Ty Simpson goes unconscious like he did against Georgia on third down, and they're dialed, but they could still lose that game. Gunnar, man, that's the right answer. This team goes where Gunnar goes, and I'm excited about them in this postseason.
To a point that I believe you made on a previous Questions with Cato, the only quarterback in this bracket with college football playoff starting experience, number 14 for the Dogs.
Forgot I made that point. That's a good point.
It's a good point that you made that I'm now remaking because it was such a good point.
Forgot I said that.
You know what I'm saying?
I think I said that when the field was, like, before the field was officially set. But I think even, like, within the top 12, 14, 15 that time, it was like, yeah, Gunner's the only one that's been here. So him and Fernando, like we've talked about, man, as far as, like, experience and what they've done this season in the biggest moments, feel pretty good about those two guys. So Fernando surrounded by a lot of great stuff too. Gunnar surrounded by Zachariah Branch, those tight ends. The run game's been there for him. If he balls out on top of all of that, yeah, hard to keep the dogs from barking at that point.
Dogs are barking, man. Dogs are barking, and there is no noise complaints being filed in Athens at this time, at least. But I digress. Fourth seed in the college football playoff. Last one we're going to talk about here. That's getting a bye. Texas Tech and the Red Raiders. They win a national championship if they get touchdowns and not field goals in the red zone. Now, there is a lot of other things that you have to account for here with Texas Tech, but y'all, to be honest, I love everything else about this team. JD, they're a Big 12 team. Yeah, absolutely. They're one of the best teams in college football, too. I think arguably the best front seven in college football. I talk about NIL and how much they spent and all this. James Blanchard, GM for Texas Tech, freaking crushed it on the evals for them. Okay, so they as a staff, hit home run after home run in that front seven when they portaled those dudes in. The defense is for real. One of, if not the best, run-stopping defenses in college football. One of the best pass-rushing defenses in college football. Take 3 University. Joe McGuire preaches it. Like, we take 3 turnovers in a given game, we're going to feel real good about our chances to win. Baron Morton, slowly but surely molding him back together with NASA-level science, and it seems like prosthetics and whatever else. They're in the lab just getting him right. Cato said it before the show, having him nursing the calcium, having him just guzzling milk, maybe have an IV for him when it comes to the whole milk. I don't know. Getting that leg back right. The playmakers are explosive. There was a stat they flashed up during the Big 12 title game. Something like north of 70 plays of 20-plus yards or more. That is unbelievable. That's ridiculous. The playmakers are explosive as all get out. So I look up and down this team for Texas Tech. I don't think it's just a Big 12 thing. I think it's going to translate to the college football playoff as well. They're going to be a brutal out for whoever gets them in that second round, more than likely the Oregon Ducks. So, JD, go back to your point here. Why did you say it's got to be about touchdowns and not field goals in the red zone? Texas Tech, as good as they've been this year, undefeated with Baron Morton playing quarterback for them, they are 101st in college football in red zone touchdown conversion rate, 87%. Doesn't sound too bad, right? But 101st in college football of 136 teams. Here's the other thing, too. Everyone that they're probably going to have to play on their side of the bracket to get to a national title game is top 30 in college football. Like Oregon's 30, that's the lowest they're going to potentially play. Everyone else is 20 or higher. So the translation here for Texas Tech, when you get to the college football playoff, you know this and we know this, the margins, they get real thin, man. Get real thin. That's cool. You settle for a field goal here and there against BYU when you're beating the brakes off them and they can't score. They got a freshman quarterback. Second time you play him, ankle's a little bit bum. You know, we can take 3 points and just impose our will. But when that line of scrimmage is a little bit more equal, when possessions are a little bit more few and far between, when the team that you're playing has a better conversion rate to touchdowns than field goals, you got to get 7, man. You got to get 7. Now, could you win if you're not, getting more touchdowns than field goals any given game? Sure. Like this team, what I just said, the personnel up front is good enough to be we didn't get more touchdowns, but that's okay relative to your own field goal percentage. That's okay because we bossed them around up front. More power to you, but I don't want to live that way. I don't want to live with the comparison I made before the BYU game for Texas Tech was I don't want to live with the car door unlocked with the keys inside. A lot of people I know do that. You can get away with that more often than not. Whenever your car gets stolen, though, who feels stupid? You. When you settle for field goals, not touchdowns, who feels dumb that you got beat in the college football playoff? That team. So you talk about who they're going to have to play here with Oregon potentially, then Indiana, and then someone else gross when you get to the national championship. It's got to be finding a way when the field condenses to get 7 and not 3. And if they can do that, now again, I trust everything else about Texas Tech. I trust the unquantifiables with the culture and Joey McGuire. I trust Mac Leftwich, the play call. I trust everything about Texas Tech. But can you take 7 and not 3? As they called it in the broadcast for the BYU game, can you get 7 in the no stone zone, Stone being their kicker, and find a way to convert those into touchdowns? Cato, a little bit simplistic here with Texas Tech on my side. I understand there's other things at play, but I feel really good about everything else with Texas Tech. Granted, we haven't seen them play the Ohio States of the world just yet, but I think Texas Tech's for real, man. What are you tracking closely here for them should they end up hoisting that hardware and be national champions? Yeah,
to me, I'm actually going a different direction than you here. I think Texas Tech wins the Natty if their defense translates from just being like an elite Big 12 defense to just an elite defense. Like this defense, everyone hypes them up, but like they're holding people to 10 a game.
Yeah.
Only 2 teams have touched 20 points against them. One was the Arizona State loss, and they put up 40 on Kansas State. Like, doesn't matter. This defense is the real deal, and it will always be looked at through the prism of it going against Big 12 quarterbacks and Big 12 offenses. And that's valid now that we're here and you're the only Big 12 representative, because Ohio State also has a very similar defense. Oklahoma, very similar defense relative to their conferences. Are you as a defense, as a front 7 Texas Tech, going to be the same outfit, have the same kind of production against the best of the best? That's the equalizer to me. If you're telling me that they can still continue to keep teams out of the 20s and their offense isn't really asked of much, and they have a quarterback who's experienced and a ton of playmakers that make contested catches and find themselves behind the defense, and Cameron Dickey's one of the last people I'd want to tackle out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
To me, like that defense, man, that's their equalizer. That's a lot of teams' equalizer, man. You can't talk about the Alabama game without talking about how stout Oklahoma has been on defense. You can't talk about Indiana or Ohio State without talking about those units who just respectively against each other kept that game in the teens. If Texas Tech can do that to teams, if Texas Tech, all of a sudden Oregon can't move the ball, if they beat JMU and then all of a sudden Oregon, it's 10-3 at halftime. Either way, you feel way better about Texas Tech. So to me, it's can that defense answer the call that they have all year against better competition? If you tell me that, then all of a sudden this conversation gets a lot more interesting. But it's fair to say, like, to make a playoff run for them, they're going to have to play the best quarterbacks, the best offenses, the best play callers that they've seen the entire year.
It's a really good point. Is it still your difference maker when you're not playing the competition you've played over the course of the season? When everyone's super, Cato, we say nobody is.
Yeah.
Right? When everyone's super, nobody is. Is it still the super difference for our friends in Lubbock? I'm excited for it, man. Cannot wait for that one. If you watched our interview with Joey McGuire during the regular season, He mentioned if they win the Big 12, he's taking his wife to Italy. So Italy tickets maybe not booked, but you would hope now if you're a Red Raider fan that Coach McGuire has to delay that here for a while with a deep playoff run. Neither here nor there. Speaking of the college football playoff, we got 2 more previews to get to here before we wrap this thing up and put a bow on a phenomenal college football playoff primer Wednesday. JMU, the Dukes, baby, rolling into Autzen Stadium. Oregon favored by a measly 21.5 points, according to BetMGM. This will be your Saturday, December 20th game. 7:30 Eastern on TNT, Autzen Stadium. I understand the spread. We've talked a lot about the playoff structure. Not here to relitigate that. Oregon, it starts here. It starts here. If you want to go win a national championship, this is the most black and white way to put it. You got to handle business one game at a time, one playoff game at a time, in a spot now checking a box that Dan Lanning has not yet checked in his very young head coaching career, which is win a college football playoff game. So obviously JMU and Ohio State, they present different challenges, okay, to put it kindly. But can you keep your eye on the ball, and can you get ramped up, quite frankly, to be honest about this whole thing, to play your best football when you go play Texas Tech should you win this game? Now for JMU, hey, don't sleep, but this is Bob Chesney's first Big Ten game of his head coaching career as the head coach at UCLA. So maybe we see a little bit of throwing caution in the wind. We empty the clip. You would hope that's the thing for JMU here in this spot. And when the spread's 21.5 points now, it becomes a trickier breakdown. All right, it doesn't take a whole lot of novel analysis to say, we'll take Oregon outright. We're going to break the game down here before we give you our official pick, if that even is our pick relative to this whole deal. How would an upset happen? If James Madison's going to shock the college football world as the second G5 team in the dance and Bob Chesney's got the boys feeling right at JMU, how would it happen? The first thing is JMU's got to strike first. First blood. Punch him in the mouth, turn down Autzen just a little bit, get everyone to have some belief growing. That's the biggest thing. If you can catch Oregon sleepwalking a little bit and just get on the board first, it could be 3 points. I don't care. If you get on the board first, guess what? Your sideline temperature totally changes from, whoa, Autzen is crazy, this is sick, we're in a college football playoff game, that's Dan Lanning, he's psycho, to, oh, we're in this thing. Hey, don't look now, but JMU is leading a college football playoff game. Draw first blood. That's the first part of this. Second part of this, JMU, tall ask, but you got to get it, man. Got to force 2 turnovers and have 0 yourself. It's no secret that Oregon has better players than you. It doesn't take rocket science, all right? So if you want to level the playing field, guess what? Give your team more possessions. Now, how does that look? Is it you find a way to be a little bit exotic defensively? Is it, again, you catch Dante Moore slipping? I think there has to be something here in terms of creating extra possessions, whether it's forcing turnovers or creating more possessions with like a surprise onside kick. You got to have something there for you. Got to have something there for you. In addition to all that, staying on schedule is the name of the game. If you get behind the chains 3rd and 11, 2nd and 10, like we're not in a good spot here if we're JMU. Now, the good news is JMU, they got Wayne Knight. Okay, for those of y'all that have watched G5 football, you know about my guy from the Fun Belt. He's a 1,200-yard back, 6 yards a carry kind of guy. JMU, as a football team, 60% run, which makes it even more important for them to not live in third and passing situations. Alonzo Barrett is your second leading rusher on the team. So you can also keep Oregon a touch off balance with the read option stuff, the +1 stuff when you have an extra blocker in there. So something to watch for JMU. I need all those things if we're going to find a way to pull off the upset. So what I just said, we had a whole breakdown around how an upset would happen. What does that tell you? It tells you it's not really about personnel. So if it's not about personnel for Oregon, what's it about? To me, it's about Dan Lanning. You have to understand now, if you're Oregon, JMU gets the position they're in. They understand they're a 12 seed. They get all that. They understand they're playing you at your home spot. They are game planning and cooking for them to find a moment in this game, ideally early on for the Dukes, where there is a surge or a momentum swing back towards them. I told you, is it fake punt? Is it onside kick? Is it trick play? I don't know, but they are preparing for that to be the case. So let's go ahead and live in this hypothetical. Let's say that swing moment happens for JMU. You're watching the TV, you're like, hang on, it's 10-0 JMU? What is happening right now? If you're Oregon, you got to hold your water. You got to be composed. Anytime you talk about a team's composure, I look at who your head coach is. Is Dan Lanning able to get this team in the right competitive mindset to handle whenever that swing happens, if it happens at all. It's about focus for Oregon. It's not so much about the personnel, because the players are better for Oregon in this spot. The game plan is better for Oregon in this spot. There's no way around that. So can Oregon be focused enough and composed enough to handle that swing, and then also not shoot themselves in the foot? Composure doesn't just go to meeting the moment when it comes to it being a playoff game. It also comes to, can you just not show up and feel like you should win the game because the spread is what it is? Like, if Oregon's going to be in the spot where they're not focused, give you this example. Missed protection by the running back, whoever it is. JMU brings someone off the edge. Dante Moore is sped up, so he rushes his throw. The throw is errant. It's high. It's tipped. It's back the other way for JMU. Pick six. We're living in a wild world. We're living the upside down now, where JMU's up by, again, I told you, 7 points, 10 points. Don't care what it is. Got to be a focus thing for the Ducks here to find a way to get it done. Now, I say all that. I like Oregon. Two big reasons why. One, JMU has won, I believe, off of personnel in the Sun Belt. See them play a lot of man coverage. See them rushing four. I just told you that stat about them running the football 60% of the time. JMU is used to being the team with better players, or at the very least, having a closer margin between them and their talent. Not a knock on JMU, just kind of the fact of the matter. I don't think in this spot, I know in this spot, you can't depend on your front seven against Oregon's offensive line, or vice versa, your O-line versus Oregon's front seven. I don't think that's a world you can live in. I also think that you talk about what could happen for Oregon should they find a way to lose. The second reason why I like Oregon is I think Dante Moore is diet Cam Ward. I don't think he's quite as composed as Cam Ward, where he's out there throwing flat-footed and not even looking like he's getting a rush at all, playing barbecue football. I think Dante Moore, though, what he is so numb to the moment in the best way, more often than not. I think that holds up here. I can't get out of my head seeing him play in the whiteout game, where it was one of his first big-time starts in college football, one of his first big-time starts at Oregon. And he rolls out there in a atmosphere that, say what you want about Penn State, that whiteout has caused better players to crumble. Dante Moore ascended in that moment, in that game, in a double overtime game, was more than good enough to allow Oregon to win that game. He looked very composed. So I think with that being said, he will handle the ebbs and flows should they present themselves. And I think that Oregon's overall personnel and the Dan Lanning psychopath composure nature will be enough for them to get it done. So Oregon wins, Oregon covers. If you're an Oregon fan, though, you want to be at this game, look no further than Game Time. Right, you can track ticket prices all the way up to the last minute. You're thinking about going to this game. Let's call it quick math here. Pacific time would make it 4:30, I believe, for y'all. It's 3:30. You're like, man, I'm outside the stadium already. I've been tailgating all day. I kind of want to be at this game, man. First playoff game ever in Autzen Stadium. Game Time, the best way to get that done. Again, can track ticket prices in real time up to the minute. Game Time going to get you to the game should you want to be there. Also, you can make sure you're getting the best tickets via the Game Time app, because you can see the view from your seat before you buy. Now, listen, I understand Autzen Stadium, from what I've heard, not a bad seat in the house. But if there is a bad seat in the house, you know before you buy your ticket if your seat is going to be bad. Game Time allows you to view your seat from your phone before you even buy the ticket. So, hear me clearly. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDCOUNT, HARDCOUNT, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app, last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed $20 off your first purchase for all new Game Time customers. All right, so again, we'll take Oregon to win. We'll take Oregon to cover at the crib, setting up a game against Texas Tech in the second round of the college football playoff. One more preview for you here. Tulane at Ole Miss, round 2 of the Green Wave and the Rebs. Ole Miss, according to BetMGM, favored by 17.5. This will be another Saturday game, 3:30 Eastern, TNT. So, since Ernie Johnson and the guys are no longer with TNT, you won't have them for an inside college football edition of Inside the NBA, neither here nor there. Last time these teams played was Jake Retzlaff's 4th ever start for Tulane. So he didn't get spring practice. He goes over from BYU. He ends up winning the job during fall camp some way, somehow. And then, surprise, surprise, Jake Retzlaff, guess what? Your 4th ever game for Tulane, you're playing a team in Ole Miss, and you're playing them at their place. So you're going back to Ole Miss, and you lost 45-10 the last time you played. However, Lane Kiffin not on the sideline for Ole Miss in this spot. How much does that factor in for Ole Miss in this spot? You get a galvanized Ole Miss, which is kind of where I lean, just to be transparent about this thing. Or do you see Ole Miss maybe lose a step in the schematic edge. Now, there are multiple assistants, including now Charlie Weiss, your OC for Ole Miss, that is coaching the team in this spot. Pete Golding, your DC, is elevated to your head coaching spot permanently. So a lot of familiar faces, but I said this yesterday, seeing Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin, there is a possibility now, Ole Miss fans, be gentle here, there's a possibility that it dials back the superpower that Ole Miss has been offensively over the course of the year. I'm just saying that possibility exists, but for Tulane now, you have to own every part of this game that has nothing to do with size or speed or personnel, okay? So, again, similar to our breakdown for JMU and Oregon, with the spread being 17.5, what would it take for the Green Wave to rewrite that first game they played and find a way to pull off the upset? The thing with Tulane is Jake Retzlaff's a freaking baller, but he runs the football for you as well. He is the leading rusher for Tulane, and whenever you have quarterback design run game as a part of your game plan, to me, that's a little bit of the wild card for a game script, especially now with him having gotten many more reps with this offense, more comfortable in this system. How much does that play into the advantage for Tulane? It has to be a factor if you're going to find a way to win this football game, because I think with Jake Retzlaff finding a way to get something going on the ground, it would also, in a perfect world now, play into Tulane shortening the game. We know what Ole Miss is offensively. They're averaging over 30 points a game. Like we know what they are. You don't want Trinidad Chambliss having more opportunities or as many opportunities rather, to score points as your offense does. So if you're looking for a path here for Tulane, I told you, Jake Retzlaff, quarterback design, run game, extra blocker. Ole Miss has not been awesome stopping the run this year, y'all. They're allowing 5 yards a carry, which sounds fake. I assure you, it's real. They're a college football playoff team allowing 5 yards a carry. Is that something that Tulane just takes a drumstick to and beats that thing till it's blue in the face? That would be what I would do if I was Tulane and John Summerall and company. Got to be perfect in the margins. Special teams specifically. Even if you're not getting 7, you'd like to get 7, but it is what it is. We can't be missing field goals out here and find a way to beat Ole Miss at their place. It's not going to happen. So all that, then the obvious ones of like throw the first punch. Can't have 3 points in the first half like you did last time. And find a way to create turnovers, which Tulane has been great at doing this year. Right around twice a game, they're taking it away for the Green Wave. So my question for Ole Miss now, I don't want to overdo the Kiffin side of things because I do think that the players make plays. I understand your same OC is still your OC here with Charlie Weiss. But how different is like the personality and rhythm of this offense? What does fourth down look like? What does third and passing look like? Is there a different approach here with it being solely Charlie Weiss's offense? I'm curious to see, because in a college football playoff game, if things get a little bit wonky, if we change our personnel, again, I'm not saying you have different plays in there or you're running a different script. I'm just saying when it comes to like the sole decisions being made by Charlie Weiss, how different does that look, especially when it gets weird? I don't like breaking in a new way of doing things offensively, however you want to phrase that or look at that, in a college football playoff game with a frisky house money gambler Tulane. All right. Now, in the same way, how does Ole Miss handle the Tulane swing? We spoke to this in JMU Oregon. I'm going to say the same thing with the spread being what it is in Tulane Ole Miss. You understand if you're Tulane, you are planning and preparing with John Summerall as your head coach for there to be a couple of aha, gotcha moments. It could be a trick play. We mentioned it before. I'm kind of redoing the same script because I think it's important. It could be onside kick. Like there's some advantage here that Tulane is trying to game up a moment in this spot where Tulane captures momentum, creates belief, sidelines on fire. Here we go. Also, too, Tulane, they're familiar with Ole Miss. Like the fact that you got beat by them one time isn't great, but I think the fact that you've already done a full week of practice for this team you're about to play, I think it plays in their advantage. Ole Miss, when and if that game swings towards Tulane at any given point, whatever it looks like, how do you handle now having a different presence on the sideline? Like Lane Kiffin, say what you want about the way he left, say what you want about, how much you don't miss him, whatever, I hear you, but understand he was a calming presence on the sideline. Like even just looking at the guy, even if he didn't say anything to you, just knowing Lane Kiffin was on your sideline, you feel better about that in the midst of chaos. Pete Golding, I don't think you feel worse about it, but it is a question mark. It is a question mark. How does Ole Miss handle the potential momentum swingage here if it happens in this game? Now, I say all that. There's two big reasons why I like Ole Miss. One, Ole Miss has Keywan Lacey. Tulane does not. Okay? If things get weird, if Trinidad Chambliss somehow, some way has a slow start or he's seeing it, not totally correctly, his chronic early onset D2 kicks in and he just has some trouble processing the picture, you can hand the ball to Keywan Lacey. He's like almost a 1,300-yard back. You're in a really good spot there. Second thing why I like Ole Miss is I'd be surprised if Trinidad Chambliss had what I just told you a second ago where he has trouble with Tulane. But I think this is a mentally tough Ole Miss football team. For the better part of the last month of the season, you were hearing and trying to sort through as a locker room your coach maybe not being there. In fact, going into your last game of the regular season, you had a timeline on the other side of your last game against Mississippi State of, is our head coach going to be there or not? And they handled it, didn't lose a game. And so I think that in itself has to be said out loud. So I will take Ole Miss to win. I will take Ole Miss to cover. And it sets up Ole Miss now with a rematch of their only loss of the season, a team that they were up by 9 points on in the second half at their place, the Georgia Bulldogs. Got to watch this too. If Ole Miss wins this game and sets up a rematch against Georgia, how tuned up, how poised do they look to go rewrite that script in itself with a round 2 matchup, in a literal round 2 matchup, in a round 2 of that series against the Georgia Bulldogs. So we'll take Ole Miss to win, Ole Miss to cover, and Pete Golden gets his first college football playoff win, the first ever college football playoff win in Ole Miss history, in the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. How about that? Not the biggest college football game, but like the biggest sporting event, state of Mississippi. Lane Kiffin's words, and we will co-sign that. We appreciate y'all making this show what it is. I keep saying this. Y'all have taken the show to new heights. We're very grateful for that. We will get sentimental after the national title game, promise you, but right now, nose to the grindstone, head down, attacking this season, what's left of it, and we appreciate y'all doing that with us, man. So if you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that. If you haven't yet subscribed to the podcast, do that. If you haven't yet followed Cato on the socials, too, do that, all right? But appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Cato on the ones and twos and the takes. We will see y'all next time. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We'll see y'all.